Hi guys, it's Jessica, and I am back because I thought I would bring you along to kind of do a craft with me while I make a recipe journal. And I kind of just wanted to share this process from beginning to end. And actually, I know I've already done a tutorial on doing a recipe journal where it just had like the vinyl cover and with paper. And this time I'm going to share how I do it with faux leather and kind of my thought process behind the whole thing. Um, and just kind of, do a craft along with me and kind of walk you through how I do this. So um, I went to Country Craft Creations today because I needed some tape, and even though I didn't end up buying tape, I did get this paper collection here, and it is called Kitchen Memories. And I just thought the colors were super beautiful. It reminded me a little bit of like springtime. It's also definitely got the retro like vintage feel. And I just found it really beautiful. So I know that I want to make some faux leather recipe journals, recipe keepers out of this paper. If you've ever got Country Craft Creations paper, then you know like how beautiful it is. Like it's super vibrant. The texture of it is unlike any other paper I've ever crafted with. It's like it's super smooth. It's also thick, but it's kind of canvasy. I don't know how to describe it, but it's really nice paper and I do really like it. That being said, it is expensive. So I don't buy it often because of its expense. So this 8x8 pack was $15.99. That used to be $14.99, and so like everything else, it did go up in price. But I do still like it. And honestly, my goal is to use up the whole pack. And I really hope to get 3 recipe journals out of it. And I do think this is probably going to be a video where I splice it all together because I don't know how much I'm going to be able to get done tonight. But I just wanted to start off by showing my thought process when it comes to picking everything that I'm going to do. So the first thing I do is once I know what paper collection I want to work with, I actually go through it and set aside the things that are going to be cut aparts versus paper that I'm going to be cutting into for like covers and stuff. And also I like to save these because I will actually cut into this and use the prints that she has on here for other things as well. If I had gotten the 12x12 paper collection, and honestly, I kind of regret not doing it, but it was like $30 for the pack. It probably would have made my life a little bit easier because of the covers, and I'll go into that in just a second. But last time I got one of her collections and I did the 12x12 size, I actually will use these down here as cut aparts as well. But these are just a little bit too small, I think, for me to be able to use them, but we will see. So like I said, the first thing I do is I go through and figure out what I want to use as embellishments versus not. So I know that her collections always come with 2 pages of these embellishments. So I'm going to set these aside, and then there's obviously some like, I guess you call them like journal cards or embellishments, whatever. I'm going to set these aside to use as well. And honestly, I'm going to be taking these to my brother scan and cut and have the brother cut all these out for me. And then I'll decide from there if I want to layer them and have them cut out again or what I want to do for that. But I'm going to have the brother scan and cut do the work for that. So we'll set those aside for now. And then what I like to do is go through the paper, and you can just tell how beautiful this paper is. But I like to go through and figure out which side of the paper I like and will use. So you can see, so hers is always double-sided. And I love this pattern so much that I'll probably always stick to this side, but I do want to flip one over so I remember that it is beautiful on the other side. So there's this one, and I love both of those. So what I'll do is I'll do 2 for that and then flip one over so then I remember the other side. So now this one, don't really love. Also don't think it would go well in a kitchen themed type recipe book. So I probably am only going to be using this side of the paper. So I will flip it over like this. Same goes for this one, like not super my style. So let's see what the back side is. And see, these pies, love it. So all of these pages will be using the pie side, and these, they're okay. And the back side is okay as well, so I'll probably just do that. This side, love it. And this side I like a lot too. So I will probably do 2 of that and 1 of the polka dot. And then let's see. So this isn't, I like this. I think it's pretty. It's all the copper, reminds me of my grandma. So I'll probably go 2 there and flip it. And then here we have, that's really pretty too with all the KitchenAid. Honestly, I'll probably keep them all on this side. So now I know which sides of the paper I will be using. I'm going to set those aside for now. And go through my faux leather. So actually, before I get to this part, let me tell you that if you want to make one of these as well, the other things you're going to need are recipe cards. I like to get mine from Hobby Lobby. You're going to need some 5x7 notebooks. These I actually got in a big box off of Amazon. I'll link them below. You can also get them from Walmart. And actually, I had one in my hands from Walmart and I had one from Amazon, and they are not the same size, which is weird because they're both supposed to be 5x7. So just be mindful that not all 5x7 notebooks apparently are created equal. So you can also get them from the Dollar Tree. I use a corner chomper for my cover and for the paper. You are going to need a crocodile, and you're going to need one of the big ones unless you have an awl, which is like a really sharp needle to poke the middle of the page, but I just like to use this. You are going to need some brads as well, and you are going to need some glue and some scissors and kind of the basics in that sense. You're also going to need some elastic. So you can get elastic. So this spool here is from Amazon. I think this one's actually from Joann's, and I think this one is Michael's. So you can get elastic all over the place. I do prefer to buy it in the spools because if it's a certain color I use, I like to have a lot of it on hand. I'm out of my white, so I'll probably end up having to use a gold or black on these books, unless I can get some more in from Amazon. So I will definitely link to the spools, and as well as a colored set that I have in my cart right now. Because there's like, I think 12 or 24, probably 12 different colors in the pack, and it's actually really kind of cool, and I think it's colors that I would use. So I'll link to both of those. And then you are going to need a photo album. You can get these at the Dollar Tree. I actually bought a whole pack of them off of Amazon, and they ended up being less than the Dollar Tree. But again, you're gonna have to use all of them. So like if you want to make a bunch of these as gifts or for a craft fair or for a gift shop, whatever, then it's worth it. If not, then I would go to the Dollar Tree. I want to say this came as a pack of 24, and I want to say it was like $25.99. I could be wrong. I'll link it below just so you can, because obviously the prices change and whatnot. But and then you're gonna need a clear label pocket. I got these from Target in the school supply section. You can also get them off of Amazon. I've done that many times before. It's probably cheaper to get them through Amazon, but don't quote me on that. I'll link to the ones I've gotten from Amazon, or just go to your local Target and get some there. So now that I've gone through the basics, and I apologize, I should have done that at the beginning. The next thing I want to do is actually go through my faux leather and see what I want to use as the cover. So I have a lot of faux leather. I really like crafting with it. I used to make bows, and I've kind of gone away from that, but I still use it to make purses and bags and stuff. I just really like it. And I've found the best place to get it for a good deal is when some of the big companies that print it, when they have like sales, or when they do clearance, I always buy it on clearance. Like I cannot tell you the last time I ever paid full price for it. But honestly, the best place to get faux leather is on Facebook. There's a lot of like de-stash faux leather groups, and that is a really great place to get them. If you're spending more than $3 a sheet, I feel like you're probably spending too much. So just keep that in mind. So I went through one stack of faux leather that I had, and honestly, that's not even a drop in the bucket. But I was like, you know what? I went through that stack and picked these out, and now I know that I have enough to choose from. And like I said, I hope to get 3 recipe books done out of that collection. Hopefully more, but we will see how it goes. And so I pulled these colors because I was thinking, based off of the colors in the paper collection that I want to use, I pulled faux leathers that I thought would go well. So I pulled blue and some pinks and some florals, and honestly, I don't know if this floral would go very well. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. Well, no, we'll see. So I'm gonna do like a yes. I love this one. I think this one would be really cool. So I think this one might be a little bit too dark. So I'm gonna pull that one as a no. Let's see about this. That one could work. These are all really good. So this mauve color is really good for this paper. And if you know much about faux leather, then this is probably going to be repetitive for you. But if you don't, I did want to share. So there is something called smooth faux leather and then pebbled. So if you can see right here, this is actually more considered smooth because there's not any ridges or bumps in it. Whereas this one, this mauve color, this is considered pebbled. So if you ever see like, and you want to get into faux leather and you don't know, when you see like what it says pebbled, you're like, I don't know what that means. Just know that it's because it's kind of textured. I don't have a preference. I like working with both, and I feel like both are fine. I can tell you smooth is easier to cut with a paper trimmer. But any faux leather you work with, it's easier to cut it with the pretty side down, so then the blade is going against the felt instead of the faux leather part. And honestly, faux leather is just vinyl, so if you find vinyl on a roll, like at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, you can do the same project with that same stuff. In fact, I think they call it marine vinyl. And I've actually bought some and used it. This is a really pretty color. This, I think, is a little bit too bright for what I want. This, I like that one. I like that one. I love this. I just don't think it goes well with my paper collection very well. So let's set that one as a no. I just love this one. I'm going to make this one work. So I'm going to go, for my covers, I think I want to go with this one, and this one. Let's pull this as a maybe. So most faux leathers are about 8.5 by 11. You'll actually find that they're a little bit bigger than that. And some places actually will sell it as like 8.5 by 12. Some of it will do it as a roll, so it's like 8 by 16. You'll find it in all sorts of different sizes. But one thing you'll notice is that not all of them are created equal. So you can see right here that this striped one is much smaller than this pink color. So let's see about this one. This one's a little bit closer to that size. Okay. Because what I don't want to do is get started on my cover and then realize the one I picked is too small for what I want. So this is also much smaller. So it looks like the printed ones are a little bit smaller than the solids. So what I'm going to do is take my printed one first, and I am going to gather my books and my photo album, and then let's just take a stack of recipe cards and put them in there. Because what I want to make sure of is that this will fold over and will still have enough room that my books aren't hanging over the edge like this. So I want to make sure that everything is going to fit well within this cover. And you can see this one's going to be a little bit snug, but it's still going to fit. And honestly, the best solution for something like this is to add edging to your faux leather. So like lace or ribbon or pom-pom trim, anything like that will now extend out your cover. And it's really pretty. So I will probably add edging to this no matter what, even though I know now that these will fit just fine. So we will set these two aside because they're the same size. So I know that both of those will work. Now let's see how big this one is. So this one, okay. So if I go with this blue, I know I'm going to have to trim off the top because there's a lot of excess right there. But my stuff will fit just fine. And then now let's double check with the pink. So yes, it will work just fine. Okay, so now I know that all my faux leather is good to work with. I'm going to set those aside. And set these aside. And the first thing I like to do is get my cover done and cover the inside with paper. So because I know that these two are not going to require cutting down, I'm probably going to start with this one because I feel like this one is speaking to me and is so beautiful. And it's that really light blue. It's almost like a baby blue striped. And I don't know if that's showing up very well on camera, but it's really, really light blue. So the first thing I want to do is cover this with paper. But because my paper is 8 by 8, you can see here that it's obviously not going to be able to be enough to cover it. Let's see how long this is. Because I don't know if a 12 by 12 is going to cover this. Okay, so it's 8 1/4 by, okay, almost 11 3/4. Okay, that's fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause and go through my 12 by 12 paper and find one that will cover this all the way. And that's where I'm saying I made a mistake not buying the 12 by 12 paper collection, because if I did, I could have just used one and done fine. I can also take these 8 by 8s and paper piece it, but because it's not even tall enough to meet this edge here, and I don't want to cut anything off of this top or else it won't fit my books, it's just better at this point to get a 12 by 12 and go from there. So I will find a 12 by 12 and I will be back, and yeah, I'll see you when we pick back up. Okay, so I did pick a 12 by 12 that is going to fit to go on my cover here, and I picked this one that is actually from Authentique. I've done several things with this paper. I really love this paper, but I thought the checkered goes really well with not only the blue stripe, but as well as our paper collection, which is again this one. So I felt like it goes pretty well. Normally I like to do the covers first, but because I don't know yet how I want to decorate the front, I've been thinking about a few different ideas and I haven't fully landed on something yet. So I'm going to leave the cover to the end until I know exactly what I'm doing. I do think I still want to have a wrap or like a tie closure. And I do think I'm going to be using denim and then quilting some fabrics on there, but again, I haven't fully decided. So because of that, I'm going to set the cover aside because I don't want to add this paper. I don't want to glue down the paper yet to my faux leather because the cover itself is going to require some sewing, and I don't want the sewing to show through all over the paper. I will end up sewing around the edge, and that will come after the paper is adhered, but there's other sewing that I want to be hidden behind this piece of paper. if that makes sense. So I'm going to leave the cover aside for now and just work on the books. So now I did get some of my embellishments cut out. Unfortunately, my brother Scan and Cut did not like this paper for some reason, so I started just hand cutting them out myself, which is totally fine because it's one of those things that you can just sit in front of the TV and do. But I'll use those to decorate, so we'll set those aside. And then we'll set our recipe cards and our recipe book aside for now. And I want to get these covers done. So on these 5x7 covers, what I like to do, and then, you know, you can totally adjust this to your preference, is I know that the inside here is going to be fully 5x7 in the general area, because we know that not all 5x7 books are exactly the same. But on the front, I like this black binding piece to show. So I like to do 4.5x7 on the front and then 5x7 on the inside. So that means I'll be cutting 4 pieces that are 4.5x7 and then 4 pieces that are 5x7. So I will start cutting out here, and I will decide what I want on my book covers. I like to use the more beautiful papers on the outside and then the more like muted stuff on the inside, but that is just personal preference. So I definitely know I want this as a cover, and I want this as a cover. So because they are front and back, let's see, 5x7, this is 8x8. So I think I'm only going to be able to get one out of each paper, which is not ideal. So then let's do that'll, oh wait, that's really pretty too. So let's do this as an inside and this as an inside. So I think I'm going to need 4 pieces total. So let's do those. That. So that'll be my front and my back. And then where is the other one I like? Let's see here. And then here, oh, there's another front. And I need another green. Okay, so I definitely don't think I'm going to be able to get 3 books out of this collection. I think I'm only going to be able to get 2. Just because of the sizing. And like I said, I really should have done the 12x12, because then I could have done an inside. I could have done 1 piece of paper would do the front and back cover, and then 1 piece of paper would have done the inside and back side covers. But because I went with 8x8, because I was trying to save money, now I'm going to end up with a lot more scraps. But I'm still going to use the scraps, and we will see how this goes. So, because I know I want this to be my cover, I'm going to cut this down to 4.5. And then by 7. So we will set the scraps aside, and honestly what I'm probably going to do is do some paper piecing on the other covers, and I really enjoy doing that. So let's make sure here. So at a 5x7, or I'm sorry, 4.5x7, so that means I still have the black showing, and I am able to fully cover that front of the notebook. So let's get the other ones done. So let's see. So we're doing 4.5. And then we'll go 7. Now our last one is 4.5. By 7. Okay, so let's get my scraps out of the way here. And now I'm going to cut my inside covers, and these are going to be 5 by 7. And again, I do that because when you open up the book, there is no black part showing. And so if I did 4 by 7 on the inside, then I would still be showing some green, and I think I just don't like the way that looks. So I like to do 5 by 7 and then tuck it all the way down here, so then all of this neon green is showing. I'm sorry, it's covered up. Okay, so now let's go to 5. Actually, let's just do 2 sheets at a time. Okay. So now we have in and outside covers cut, and so now we are going to glue them down. So I know that this is here, here, and now I just need to decide if I want the green or the blue to go with which. And honestly, I'm probably gonna go for the blue. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our glue. I like to use the art glitter glue. I like that it adheres pretty fast, but I still have a little bit of wiggle room, and I actually really like that it is not as sticky as this. I still will always use this glue, and I do still buy it, but I really like that. I really like the art glitter glue just because it doesn't get so dang sticky like the other stuff does. So I did take off the fine point nozzle on this one, just because I felt like it was like holding me back getting stuff done. It was taking forever for me to get some of the glue out, but I do still keep it, and I will add it for when I have those fussy cuts or those pieces of paper that need a fine tip. Okay, so I like to go all the way over here to the edge and make sure I'm lined up on this edge and there's no overhang. And I am not doing a great job right now. Okay, so I'm going to adhere that down really well. And I do, oh yeah, I do have a bone folder this helps a lot with this. I also do like that this glue does not leave those like glue lines that you see behind certain papers that this glue, I feel like this glue will actually show the glue lines behind certain papers. Okay, so I'm going to take my corner chomper here and do the 3/8 inch and just chomp that off. And now I have that cover done. And now that I got the sticker off, then I'm going to adhere this back page. I find it easier on something like this to put glue on the paper so then I can adjust it, because I can never remember how far back I want to put the paper in order to show the black spine, but then still cover everything. So it's easier for me if I just put it on the paper and then move the paper around. There are other projects I will do where I actually put the glue on the book itself, but this is not one of them. Okay, let's make sure I got it. Yep, okay. So now I'm going to chop these corners off as well. And so now I have the outside of the book done on this one, so now I'm going to work on the inside. So what I like to do is I like to really push this down, because like I said, I do want my piece of paper to come all the way in, as much as I can get it to do, so I don't see any green at all, and so that's going to work. But you can tell here that I am still going to have a slight edge that I'm going to have to cut off, which is totally fine, because I'd rather cut off that paper than not have enough. So now this is the circumstance where, because I know I'm going to have an excess hanging over, then I'm going to put the glue on the book, because I don't want to get glue all over my scissors when I cut off the paper. Okay, so the swirls are kind of going this way, so let's add it here. So again, I'm going to go right in that crease there, like the valley of the book, and get this down, get it centered. Okay. Just get that adhered down really nice and well. Okay, so you can see right there that I do have a little bit of an overhang. It's not much, but I do want to snip that off. So I'm going to snip that off first and then take off the corners. Okay, now let's take off that corner and that corner. Okay, so now I have, oh, this is starting. I have a little piece in here that did not adhere down, and so it started to lift. So I'm just going to put a little glue back there and then try and nudge my paper in. There we go. Okay, so now that's all fixed, and now we have the front and inside cover done, and now we will work on the back cover. So as you can see again on the back cover there, if you see that blue paper, it is a little bit of an overhang, so we will again just snip that off. Okay, now we will take off the corners. Okay, so now we have one notebook done, front and back, and I will work on the other one and I will be back. Okay, so now I actually have both books that are now covered on front and back, so on the inside as well. And this is something that bothers me, and it might not bother you, but when I look at the book right here, I could still see that lime green, and I don't really like that. So I like to go around all the edges and cover that green. And I like to pick a color that will go well with the paper collection that I'm working in. And so the first thing I did try is to see if I could get it to cover with this Distress Oxide Ground Espresso, and it did not seem to want to adhere to that book cover, and it's probably because it's kind of slippery. So then I tried some of this Tailored Expressions Teal Shimmer, and this is just too light. So then I pulled out this Nouveau Embellishment Mousse, and this is the color Cornflower Blue, and this is adhering really well. So I just like to take my finger, and honestly you can use a dauber, you can use a blending brush, you can use pretty much any tool that will rub on there. Your Q-tips would work too. I just get lazy about finding all this stuff, and you know, I have 10 fingers, so it doesn't bother me to get a few of them dirty. So I will just go around the edges here and cover up that green. So now I have all of my edges done, and I will do the other book, and then we will come back and I will work on decorating the covers. Okay, so I got both covers done in terms of getting the blue around there. And actually I ended up also going in with some worn lipstick from Distress Oxide and a blending brush, and went around to try and mute out the blue a little bit because it was a little bit bright for what I was going for. Like right here, ended up a little bit too heavy-handed on the worn lipstick, but it is what it is, and I still like it. So now we're going to work on decorating the covers. So what I did was I took 2 of the cut aparts from the collection, and I ended up putting it on some, just some kind of like muted gold paper that I had, and cut it out, and then did some zigzag stitching around the edges. And let me just cut off my strings here. Just because I wanted it to have a little bit of some, like, it was blending in, like this card was blending in too much with the back, and so I felt like you couldn't really see it. So I decided to back them both on gold, and I like it much better now. So I was trying to decide how I want to decorate the covers, and I'm thinking I might do that one here and that one there. Or this paper's just so beautiful, I might do that. Yeah, I think I'll do that. The other thing I would like to do on these books is I like to line the edges with trim, and I really like to use the vintage stuff that I get at a creative reuse store. So I went through my trims and I found this one, and I thought this was really beautiful because it has the blue and the cream. The problem with this one is that it is so wide that I would have to really have it back on the edge of the book, or else it would be hanging like really far over my cover. So I don't know if this one's going to work or not. I don't think it will work. Dang it. So then what I think is both of the books are going to end up having this eyelet trim. And if you've seen my stuff, you know I use it a lot because I really, really like it. So let's see how that looks. Okay, yeah, I do like that. Okay, so it's always easier, in my opinion, to do the trim first. So then you can center your title card here based off of like the spacing that's left that's showing. I feel like if you add the title card and then add the trim, it will kind of throw off the proportions a little bit, but that's just personal preference. So I like to do a large line of glue there and just make sure it's adhered down, and then I will trim off extra, because then once it's all glued, I will flip it over and trim off the edges that we have right here. And normally I only do it on the front of the book, but I think on this one I'm going to do trim on the front and back, just because I do have a lot of this trim, and why not? So then let's adhere this. The thing with this trim is that it does tend to like to curve, just the way it was sewn. And so the one challenge I would say with this is always constantly trying to straighten it out until it dries. So, and then I like to make sure that they are both somewhat even. Okay. So let's definitely need to find my other scissors. Okay, so now we are going to do this title card, and thinking about whether or not I want to pop it up. I do think this book is already going to be kind of pretty chunky because our faux leather is not as wide as we need it to be, so I don't think I'm going to pop that up because I don't think I want any extra bulk there. So now we will glue this down. Okay. So now all I have left to do is to trim off my ends here, and I'll do that once everything dries. So I am going to pause here and we will be back to work on the actual recipe flip book portion of this project. Okay, so now we are actually going to put together the recipe book portion of our project. So because my goal here was to use the entire 8x8 paper pack, what I like to do is once I have all of my books covers done, and I figure out, generally speaking, how many I'm going to make, then I'll take the remaining paper and cut it down to 4x6 because I know I want those to be like decorations in my actual recipe flip book portion. But because I was running out of paper so quick, I was only able to get 5 4x6 out of my scraps or whatever was left. And then I did go and I pulled out some yellow because I felt like it went okay with this paper collection, and I cut it down to a 4x6. And then I took the scraps and I layered them on an 8.5 by 11 and did all sorts of like paper piecing and cut it down into tags and then some covers. So this is one of the covers that I made with the scraps and one of the cut aparts here, and this is going to be the cover of my my book here. There we go. So that is going to be my cover, and actually I do like to put some ribbon up here, but I'll do that at the end. And this is going to be my back cover, but because this is not decorated, it doesn't matter which way it goes in. So now that is my back cover. So now what I like to do is, because I only have 5 of these, I like to go through and just randomly put them in. So then there is pretty paper throughout the book. And then whoever gets this book, they can choose how they want to do it. They can write on this as it's an actual recipe card. They can put pictures of the recipe they're going to make. They can put pictures of the family eating the dinner that they used recipes from this book. Like however they want to do it is fine. And then what I did is, because I still had scraps, I'll see this paper is upside down. I'm going to flip this. Because I did still have scraps, what I did was I took, again, some 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and I cut it down to 4x6, and then I took the scraps and just made like little clusters along with some fabric. So just did, just randomly, and then took it to my sewing machine and did some zigzag stitching across it and just kind of made it some more decorative paper. So now these, they can use it to whatever they want to do. They can write recipes on them. They can leave them as just journal cards. They could put pictures on there. I like doing these because it's kind of versatile, and then it's a great way to use up all those scraps when your goal is to use up an entire paper collection. Okay, so now that I have those in and they're randomly assorted, now I like to go in and put in the recipe cards. So now they're all there. So you can absolutely do recipe cards and or printed paper front and back. What I have found is that it bulks up the book so much that it's hard for me to get this and the 2 notebooks in there. So I just do 1 per side, and then whoever gets the book, then they can start customizing it. If they want it to be more recipe based and only 1 notebook, then they can add the stuff here and take out a notebook, whatever they want to do. But that is just my personal experience with it, and so I only do 1 recipe card or paper per side. Okay, so now we have our 2 books done and our recipe portion of it. Now we are going to work on the cover. So I know I said that I was putting the cover off till last because I did not know what I wanted to do. Finally, I decided I was going to use up this denim. It's almost like, it's supposed to be like a denim ribbon. I got it from a creative reuse store, but what what you can tell that they did is they just took jeans, they tore them down into strips, and then they sewed them all together. So like this, if you can see this blue thread there, that was not me. This is how it came. The white thread is me. So then I did a zigzag stitch all around the sides of it, and then I actually did extra here and here, so because that's going to be our most it's going to be where the most tension is. So what I did was I took some double-sided tape and put it on the back of my faux leather. I found this is the easiest way to get paper onto faux leather. You can do glue. The problem with glue is that you have to have literally every square inch covered with glue, because if you don't, by the time you lay the paper down and then try to manipulate the book, it creates these bubbles or air pockets. So I just avoid that by doing double-sided tape. And this is 6 inches, and these are, I think this is 1/4 inch tape, because I ran out of my other sizes, so I just made do with what I had, because I wasn't going to go buy tape to do this project. And this is 6 foot that I just kind of, I'm sorry, 6 inches, not 6 feet. This is 6 inches that I just kind of cut down to try and make that space work. So on the back side, or on the inside of this, I picked this paper here from Authentique. Excuse me, the paper collection is called Fabulous 5 paper. And this is the other side of it. I don't think this will go well with the collection, so I wanted to stick with the pink here. And we are going to cut it down to be just slightly larger than my faux leather. And we do that because it shifts, sometimes it's just through experience that I want it to be a little bit bigger so that I can trim the edges rather than not have enough and then have these white gaps. So now this is our 8 1/4 by 12. And I am probably going to start at the top here. And this is now our double-sided tape with the release paper off. And because I went over the edge here, I do have some tape that's sticking to my denim, and I want to pull that up and pull it back. So it's just on the faux leather. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, oh, over here we got some again. I'm going to still pull this double-sided tape that's over the edge a little bit back so it's more on my faux leather. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is match up as best as I can, corner to corner and top to top. And I am just going to go over it. And it's really best to get it really adhered down, especially like if you have a bone folder, a credit card, anything like that, to get it really stuck down. Okay, so now that I have those, now I'm going to pull back the release papers of these. Okay, now we got that, and now I'm just going to adhere this down again. Okay, so now you can see we do have some overhang that will get trimmed, and I actually like to trim this off with my paper trimmer. So I will pull this back and go around with my paper trimmer and clean all of this up. And then I'm actually going to take it to my sewing machine once I get it all trimmed, and I am going to sew along the outer perimeter of the whole piece of faux leather, so that way it acts as another reinforcement for keeping the paper on the faux leather. So once I have done that, I will be back and we will put the whole thing together. Okay, so I am back and I have sewn around the perimeter of my cover here. And I obviously have sewn on the tie, and we are ready to go. So now that my cover is all prepped and ready, we are going to be finishing the book. So what we need to finish it is we're going to need our long-reaching crocodile. I know that these are still available on Amazon. I've actually seen them at Country Craft Creations. I'm sure you can get it through scrapbook.com. This is probably one of my most used tools. And you can't use a normal one. Oh, sorry about hitting the camera. You can't use a normal one like this because we need to be able to reach the center of our book. And actually, now that I say that, I actually don't need to reach the center of my book if I have this tie. So let me take that back. If you want to do a tie closure, you don't need one of these. You can always just use your normal crocodile and punch your holes at the top and at the bottom. If you want to do an elastic closure, you will need a long-reaching crocodile, so then you can get the middle of your material. So yeah, it didn't even occur to me that like just always do tie closures and then you'll never have to buy one of the big ones. You can always just use your small one. And I apologize if you're gonna hear a lot of squeaking. My little puppy probably brought down his toy and is anxious to play. So you're gonna need a crocodile. So I'll probably just use this one since I don't, I don't know which one I'll use, but it doesn't really matter. Then you're going to need something for your spine. I think I'm going to go with this one, just do this one a little bit differently than I've done the other two. I've already had this made up. I do have some beaded bows made up as well, but I really like the colors in this and I thought it really went well with my project that I have going on right now. So I really like the way that looked. And then I'm going to need my pocket that's going to go on the inside. And I've already added my stuff to it. So I have some tags, I have my tabs, and some just little cut aparts. And this one, again, is self-adhesive on the back. And then obviously I'll need the 2 notebooks I made as well as the recipe keeper part. And then you are going to need some elastic and 4 eyelets if you're not doing the elastic closure. If you are doing the elastic closure and you're going to punch it in the middle, then you're going to need 5 eyelets. And I am not going to punch this one since I do have the tie closure. Let me get this piece off here really quick. Okay, so I am first going to pick out which eyelets I want to do. And because my cover is really light colored, I'm probably going to go with white. So now that I have my eyelets, I am going to set these aside. Let's make sure they're all the same size. Okay. And what I like to do is figure out which is going to be the front and the back of my book. And I like to base it off of, honestly, did I make any mistakes on one side or the other? And if I did, then the side with the mistakes is going to be the back. And so like right here in the corner there, my sewing machine was acting up, and I'm honestly just going to trim this and you probably won't be able to tell that it's there. But I'm going to have this be my back. So I get it situated how I want. And what I do is I fold exactly in half, because then that gives me the halfway point of my book. And that is very helpful if you're going to be putting in a center eyelet. If you're not putting in a center eyelet, it's still helpful because then it will help guide where we're going to put our other eyelets, and I'll show you that in just a second. Because what I have found is that it's easier for me to punch my 4 eyelets at once, so then they are symmetrical and then I can kind of line them up top to bottom. So what I mean by that is I like to, I'm going to use this one just because I like using this one more. Okay, so I have it on the 3/16 punch size. And I know I want my eyelets to be below the sewing line, and I don't want them to go into the sewing line because I don't want to break that barrier. So I am going to just eyeball it and get below my sewing and be about, oh, 1/8 of an inch away from the fold line in my cover. I am just going to punch that down. So what that does is now it gives me 2 holes on either side that are symmetrical and are, you know, even for the most part. And then I'm going to go down to the bottom and do the exact same. And then I just kind of eyeball it again, being 1/8 of an inch in and above my sewing. Okay, that's a little bit too close. Okay. And then now I have my bottom punches as well. So now we are going to be setting those eyelets. And if you have never used one of these big ones, so when you adjust your little button here, the 2 back determine the size of a hole that is going to be punched in, and then the front is what works the front mechanism that will set the eyelet or squeeze the eyelet closed, basically. Okay, so now I have all 4 of my eyelets in there, and we will just put our crocodile to the side. And now what we're going to need is some elastic. So like I said, I like to get the spools of elastic off of Amazon. I just find it more economical, and I use so much of it that I'd rather just get a bunch of it once. So what we're going to do is we are going to flip it over, and I want to make sure I am working on the correct side. So this way is what I want. Yep. Okay. So you've probably seen this a lot on how to string a traveler's notebook, but if not, we'll just go through it really quick. So I have my elastic here, and I like to leave it on the spool for now until I can get a better idea of how much I'm going to want. So you always start on the inside and go out, because we want our strings to be on the inside lengthwise, and then you want minimal string on the outside. So you're going to go through one hole and then back in on the other side. And this is our edge now, or the end of our elastic. And it is going to come down to the bottom hole. And then we are going to go back in to the inside of the book. And now we are going to be coming up again and going back through again. So the rule of thumb to remember is that each end of your elastic goes through the holes twice. And you do that so then you get 4 strings on the inside. So then you can put in 4 books, 4 folders, 4 notebooks, whatever the case is. So now I am going to cut my string, because I like to eyeball it, so I know that, okay, I know that it still has to come down and around, and then it still has to go back up. So I'm probably going to need about there. Okay, so now we're going back down and back through. So now both ends of my elastic are on the inside. I do like to try and make it so the 2 ends meet in the middle. It doesn't always work that way, and honestly, it doesn't really matter. But if I can make it work, I do. So now I'm going to knot it twice, because I want this to stay secure on the inside of my book. So now I'm going to trim these edges, or these ends here. And I'm going to actually keep this one, because this is a good size length for when I do the mini books. So I'm actually going to keep that one. So now this is what your book will look like. We have 4 strings on the inside, and they are going through our eyelets. You don't have to have eyelets. You can string your traveler style notebook without the eyelets. I just find that for one, it makes it look a little better on the outside, and for 2, it just is a reinforcement so it doesn't tear into your cover. So now that we have that, let me find what I did with my pocket stuff. Okay, I want to set my pocket in first. I just like having that done. So I'm just going to take off the adhesive backing here. Like I said, I have gotten these off of Amazon as well as at Target. I think you can get them at like office supply stores as well. Wherever you find them most economical is where I would get them. I'll leave a link below to the ones that I have found on Amazon, but like I said, that doesn't mean they're the cheapest option out there. Okay, so now we are going to put in our notebooks. I want this one to go first. So I like to do the first 2 strings on my first notebook. And then I know that if I ever want to add anything else, I do have an extra string. A lot of people just like to leave the string in there and have it not be used. That's totally personal preference. So now I'm going to go with notebook, or I'm sorry, the recipe keeper. Right there. And actually, I forgot that I like to add some ribbon to the outside of my recipe keeper. So I pulled this out because I thought it went complementary to my colors. So I'm going to make this into a prettier bow than it is right now. Okay. Got that. Oops. Let me trim the ends here. Okay. So now we are going to finally set this in. And I do like to put it in where my ribbon is, so then that you can still see the ribbon. Let's see where that's at. Oh, here we go. So now we're just going to lift up another string that we put in here. It's not as easy to do when you have nails. There we go. And that is going to be like that. And now we're going to put in our last one here. And string that in. So now I do like to make sure that everything is nice and snug and fitting in. You can always go in and tighten your elastic. It's really hard to loosen your elastic once it's in there. You can pull on it and kind of like break up the fibers a little bit. But I honestly find it easier just to restring it if my elastic is just way too tight. And you can tell it'll be too tight if your cover starts to like really bow. So the thing with working with faux leather, and once you have this all set, is you do kind of have to mold it and get it to set how you want. So it will take a little bit of time for the faux leather to kind of mold into what you want. The one thing I should have done is I should have started bending along my spines on either side right here, so it would be ready for these books. And I did not do that. So let me get that done right now. There we go. Okay, so now we will tie it shut so then it will start to get into the shape we want. And like I said on my video yesterday, these tie closures, I just like to tie once, but that is totally personal preference. Okay, so now that we have that tied close, I am going to go ahead and add my dangle here that I had done in my stash. I actually need to fix this here. There we go. Okay, so now our book is done. I have my pretty dangle, I have it tied close, and then if we open it, here I have my pockets where I can go through and now decorate with however I want. I can start working in the notebooks, and then now you can start writing the recipe cards. Just take them out, fill them out, and put them back in. And that is the project for how to do this with faux leather, or you can even do it with felt. You can do it with fabric that you've fused onto felt, all sorts of different options. So I hope this is helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, please reach out. I will link down below to some of the supplies that I've used in case that is helpful. Honestly, a lot of the supplies you might be able to just use what you have and make it work. If not, I will leave the link down below just in case. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you on the next video.